Okay, so, alright, we're going to be doing a little bit more with in Linux today, and it's going to be involving Neofetch, so get ready for some eye candy. Hey, welcome back to the AnKorage, where everything is awesome, and this should be sounding a little better today. I tweaked the volume a little bit so that I'm a little louder, so that when you're watching it and it cuts over to the title card, it doesn't go screaming in your face with the music. So we try to normalize it out a little bit. But anyways, I was working over in Linux, and we were going to cut over to that real quick. So I'm going to show you something kind of neat. So we're over here in my Linux virtual machine that I was using for the command prompt, you know, because if we go to the terminal, bang, there we are, the AnKorage. There we go. Now we're going to be working with something called Neofetch today. So if you, Neofetch is I don't know if you can call it a tool, but it's a neat little thing. You type in Neofetch like this, and you just hit enter, and bang, there you go. There's your Neofetch, and this is what you get. You get an ASCII art logo, and then you get, you know, the details of your machine, and then you get all these details down here, and then you get a little bit of a color scheme of all the available colors that can be used and stuff like that. And this is pretty cool, but it doesn't automatically pop up in when you fire up terminal. So this is to show you exactly how you can get this to come up into terminal and to customize it a little bit. So we're going to close this out right now, and we're going to go back into, as we did before, we're going to go into bash.rc. So if we go to here and pull up the you know, your files and such, this is the file, dare I say, file explorer. It's a file manager. But we want to come to the bash RC, double click on that, and we go back down to the bottom, you know, and it should, like, if you were already in here using the default text editor, then you'll come right back in and go right back down to the bottom. It's like, here's all the you know, there's the PS1, the prompt information. So we don't want to be there. We just want to go down a little bit. Yeah, get a little space. Do a quick save on that real quick. But, you know, in order to have Neofetch show up when you launch your prompt, so if I launch the prompt now, you know, you just get that. It just brings you straight to your prompt, and you can get into the terminal and do whatever. But now what we want to do is actually get Neofetch to show up. So you come into here, you go down to the bottom, go down a couple of lines, just to give yourself some space, and you just type in Neofetch. Save that, and then you fire up your terminal, bang, and there it is. So you brought it into your terminal, and all of your Neofetch information shows up right off the bat. Now that is a neat little thing to have, because you can customize this. You can actually change these logos, and you can also change the data that's showing here and stuff like that. I'd show you my own, but I don't actually have the file over here right now. I can grab it and bring it over and show it to you, but that would take some time. So we are actually going to go into how to customize this to make it your own, and we are going to go from that point. Okay, so why don't we start off by taking a look at you know, this image right here, this little picture. We can actually change this to a different picture. So why don't I show you how to do that? If you come back over to here, where we were playing with the .bashrc, if we come up here to the .config folder, we go into there, and then we find the Neofetch, which is right here. There's a configuration file. So you double click on that, and that opens up in your text editor, and here we are. Now this is where you can change that. You can also change some information in the Neofetch. So if I show you the Neofetch again, we can change this here, and we can also change the information that shows up over here. And just we're going to just focus on this part for the moment. So if we come into here, and if you do a find, which is Control F, and you just punch in ASCII, because that's what we're looking at. So we got ASCII, all kinds of finds here, and you hit enter again and it keeps going to the next one all the way through. So what we want to find is right down here, distros. So we got the distro names. So we've got tons of distros. Look at this. There's the ASCII distros. Boom, boom, boom. We have all of these available. So, and we want to find the ASCII distro equals auto line. This line right here. So once you find that, it's currently set to auto. So when it goes by auto, it takes the distros image, which is this guy right here. So it's the Linux Mint. So let's say we wanted to change that. Well, we could come right up here, look through the list, find one that you happen to like, but we're just going to go with AIX. So we're going to copy that, come back down to here, to ASCII distro auto, and change auto to the AIX. And we'll save that, and we'll come back over here, and we'll punch in that source dot, let's see, bash rc, and there you can see that ASCII art has actually changed. And this can change to any format that's in the listing. So that's how you change that. And now, as far as just to touch on the right hand side, if we didn't want anything really showing up, so let's say if I go back into this and we go back to the top, so if I go page up all the way up, that's this information here. So if I pull this over here and you look it down here, you see all these different items. That's what this all stuff is. Info, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. If you don't want anything of sorts to show up, you can just throw a comment or a pound sign in front of that. So let's say, let's just pick a random one, DE and WM. So we're gonna pick these ones to not show anymore. So we come over to the DE and the WM, we go to the front, and we just throw that pound right in front of it. Save it, come back over, and you run that source bash rc again, or you can close the terminal and relaunch it, and bang, there you go. So those two items, DE and WM, don't show up anymore. And of course the lines come up a little bit, and that's just to show it showing up automatically on its own just by launching it. We close that, refire it up, bang, there we go. So we can pick any number of these. So I'm just gonna scroll down because I know where it is right off the top of my head. I just look for this group. It looks interesting. So let's say I'm going to pick, let's see. Well, there's also small versions. So let's try Raspbian. So copy that, paste that there, save it, go back over, and boom. So there's Raspbian. You get a little bit of a raspberry there for Raspberry Pi. So that's how that one looks. And we'll pick one more just for the heck of it. Let's see. Let's go. We'll pick Elementary. And then we will dash RC for the source, and bang, there it is. And there's Elementary. So that's how you can change the actual ASCII art that shows on the left-hand side. Hey, if you happen to like the content you see on here, I would appreciate it if you subscribed and give this video a like. That would be even better. But even better than all of that is all of this. You could actually help support the channel through Patreon. You can become a patron. You can also provide support through LiberaPay, liberapay.com. You can also help support the channel with Monero Crypto and with Dogecoin. So the wallet addresses are down below. So is a link to Patreon and to LiberaPay. So back to the video. Now, as far as customizing Neofetch, this particular logo here, that's what this is leading up into. So we need to actually create our own ASCII art. So what we want to do is you want to find, let's say, a picture or a drawing. You know, you could draw it in the drawing program or something like that. Something simple. So if we were to actually build it off of an actual image or something like that, you could actually look up an image. So let's say a flower. So do that. And of course, I use start page. So you want to use start page. You don't want to use Google. Don't Google it, because they steal information and they sell it for ads. And they're tracking everything like that. DuckDuckGo, you could use that, but there's a link up with Microsoft, so you don't want that. Go with start page. So look up images of, let's say, flower. Click on the images link, and it'll show us, you know, we have all these flowers. So just for the sake of, let's see. We could take a look at this guy, but that guy's really big. So we want to find a flower. We'll say emoji. What the hey? We'll find the flower emoji. We'll build it off of that. So here we have right here. So there it is. And we can view the image anonymously, of course. So let's copy this. So let's actually save the image to our desktop. And it's a PNG. So it's index.png. So save that. Minimize that. And there it is right there. So what we want to do is we actually want to convert this into ASCII. Now how do we do that? Well, if we come back into Firefox or your browser and we go to the, let's see, where am I at? Go to textimage.com, convert. This is it right here. Text-image.com, and it goes to a convert. And this is where we would do that. So we would go, well, you have to pick your file. There it is. You pick that. And then, let's see. You want to see, well, it's a white background, text color black, let's say. You know, just leave all that. And it's just image width. Now, let's say you want this not at 100. You'd want it at, let's say, 70. Just for example. And you convert it. There you go. There's your ASCII art. So what you would do is you would actually copy this whole section like so. And then what you'd want to do is go into your text editor. You can go into that, select a new, and then paste it. And there it is. It's all pasted. So for the sake of the ASCII art, we'd actually want to remove all of these little @ symbols. So what we would want to do is we would want to find and replace. So the easiest way to do that is to actually take this into LibreOffice Writer, because that comes out of the box with Linux Mint. So we are going to fire that up. So we go up here, punch in Writer, and there it is. So we will actually fire that up. You get this little tip. You don't want to necessarily see them all the time, unless you do. Paste it in there. And then what you'd want to do is you'd want to do a Control F. And then you'd want to put in your @ symbol. And then there's an option to find and replace. Excuse me. So you do find the @ symbol, replace it with space, just like that. That records that space. And then you go and replace all. Boom. And then you close it, and there you go. And there's your art. So then you'd want to save this so you can have it, you know, like that. And there you go. So there's your ASCII art. Now from here, what we want to do is we just want to replace a pre-existing you know, the logo, so using something that's already there. So essentially from here we leave this, we'll just minimize it, minimize that, minimize that, minimize that, and from out here we would want to come out here, and we want to go all the way up to the file system item right here, because then we need to go into bin. So this requires you have to be going into here with root privileges, administrative privileges. So the best thing to do is to right click on it, come down, open as root, throw in your super secret password, and it will open it. So from here we need to find Neofetch. So you scroll down. Could be going for a little while. Yeah, just take another look. We're getting close. Neofetch, where are you? Boom, 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 boom. Nemo preview, Neofetch. There you are right there. So double click on that and you want to display it. And there we go. And now we're inside of a fresh instance of the text editor. But the difference is that you get that thing there, elevated privileges. So you maximize this, it's just easier. And then you want to scroll down till you get to the section where you start seeing logos, the ASCII art. We keep going. It's in here. It's just a matter of finding it. It's done quite a ways, isn't it? You could also page down as well. And looking at this, I'm just probably gonna have to do that because we're only this far down. So I'm just gonna, of course, when I start page down, it shoots straight up back to the top. So press and hold, and stop. Okay. So now we're gonna go back up here to the beginning. There's that AIX ASCII art. So we want to replace that. So what we would do is basically, you know, when you see the code, it starts off with this $$ brace C1 color 1. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave that, but you can see it actually pushed over that top line. So that's alright. So we are going to highlight that whole thing like that. I'm going to switch back over to LibreOffice. So I'm going to copy all of that. Okay. Control C. And then I'm going to come back over into here, and of course now the highlighting is gone, so now we got to put that back. So shift and down. And then we'll just paste over it. Boom. There it is. So the things to make sure of is to make sure you don't get rid of this color thing. Of course, this will make sure that the entire thing shows up as that color. I'll go over that in a little bit here. And then we don't want to get rid of this EOF right here. We want to leave that. because EOF, you know, if I'm correct, it stands for end of file. So we are going to save that. So Control S. So there's that. And then we're going to minimize it just for right now. And we'll minimize that. And we'll minimize that. And minimize that. Go back into the text editor. So we're going to go into the main one, because I've got the config file over here all ready to go. So I'm going to change this over to AIX. Okay, and now save that. Come back over to our terminal. I'm going to do the source bash RC, and bang, there it is. But we can see that, well, yeah, there's that first line, and it got sucked all the way over. You can correct that by just adding spaces. But if you look over on the right, it's all squished. How do we solve that? Very easy. So if you do a right click and anywhere and do preferences, you can increase the terminal size. So I would actually just double it. So I would go 160, and that's 24, so I'd make that 48. Close it. And then I would close the terminal, and the next time you open it, bang, it's the whole thing. See, it made it a lot bigger. And you can tweak those numbers to bring it down a little bit. Now, I'd like to go ahead and take care of this. So I'm going to close that for a second. And I am going to go back over to our elevated privileges one. And I'm going to count how many spaces here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so I'll make sure it's 5. Well, I'm going to do spaces over. So, and do a save on it. And we're going to see how that comes out. A little better. It's pushed over. It needs to push over a little more. So, I'm going to close that. And I'm going to put in those 5 spaces that I counted. Like that. Save it. Fire up the terminal. And boom. Perfect. So, from that point we can change colors and everything. But at the same time, this is kind of too big. So I'm going to reduce this just a little bit. So I'm going to take this down. Let's see, I'm going to take it down to, what is that? That's columns. So that's 160 columns wide. I want to bring it down to 130. And we'll take this down to 30, let's say. Close that, reopen it. That's a little better. Columns is better, but the number of rows needs to get a little bigger. So preferences, rows. Let's bring it back up to 48 real quick. So we'll close that, reopen it. Yeah, we'll go with that. That's a little better. Now let's just bring it down just a little more. Instead of 48, let's go 38. Close that. Close that. There you go, much better. I like that a lot better. So that looks nicer. So, and there's our flower ASCII art. So let's say we wanted this to be a little smaller. Well, what you could do is you could go back over to here. Click back. Index, it's already selected. And let's say, let's bring it down to 50. 40. Click convert. There it is. We'll copy that. We'll go into LibreOffice Writer. I'm going to keep that for the moment. I'm just going to go down here. Paste it. And then I'm going to do that find and replace again. So it's already there, so I'm going to replace all. Boom. Close. And there it all is. So actually we want to undo that. So the find and replace, we'll try this again. Replace it with space. There we go. There it is. So I will copy this. And I'll take it right to the beginning. And minimize that. Come back to this. And then I will replace that with that. And there we go. So we'll save it. And then we'll fire off terminal. Of course, we got brought back to the most recent one, so I'll just do a fresh. Boom. There's that smaller version right there. So that's using a converted image over to ASCII art. It's a lot better than trying to type the individual things, because if you can do that, then you're good at ASCII art. It can be tricky. So it's better just to use a converter. So, but this is of course Linux Mint, so we are going to actually be changing it to the miniature version. So I'm going to close out of that, close out of the terminal, close out of this. So when we look up here, there are small versions for all of these. So if I try to find it, it's not going to be there. So I'm just going to switch this back to auto. Save it. And boom, there we are. Now let's say we don't want to see this up at the top. Well, we can do that in our configuration file that's out here. Let's see. Right in here, we can change it in here. So the cheat is do Control A and then home, and it'll shoot you right back up to the top. So what we would do is we would come to here, we see info, and then we got info title, info underline. Now this is the info title and this is the info underline. So let's say we wanted to replace this with something. First thing we would do is come up to the info title line and we'd comment that. So then we'd go to the end and then shoot down to the next line, and then we would actually want to type in PRIN. Don't put the T in there because it doesn't work. Do prin space and then type what it is you want to show there. Do it in quotes. So that would be, this is my machine, not yours. Let's say, like that. Save it. Come out to here. Close it. Fire it back up. And see it? This is my machine, not yours. And it changed the color to the default white. And it's bold-faced. And you see, you got all these down here. Now, let's say we didn't want to see any of that. Like, any of it. And that's pretty simple. You would just comment every line out. So, we just put a comment on every single line. And, of course, you see these ones are over here. It doesn't matter where. As long as it's in front of the word info, that's gonna work. So we save that, we come back over, we'll close it and fire it back up, and all that text is gone now. We just have the colors. Well, I don't want the colors sitting there, so let's get rid of that one too. Well, if we go down, see that info colors, comment that, save it, close it, fire it back up, and now we don't get anything. And then you can actually type in any different things that you want to put in here. So basically, you just come right back in. And what we can do is we can actually push this down a little bit, and you can do a PRIN, excuse me, and you can go, it's nice out today. And now let's say you wanted to have a gap, or line space. You could just do print. Of course, I have the habit of putting that T in there. And then you just like this and just go, this is with a line space. Save it. Close the terminal, fire it back up. And boom, it's nice out today. And this is with a line space. Boom, so you got that gap there. So you can actually do a lot in here. And as a little extra treat, I actually came back out here off recording, and I actually did a Neofetch for that's geared specifically for the channel. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. Boom, there it is. So I've got my own ASCII art. I just finished doing the editing for that, and just finished doing the editing for the right hand side, which really doesn't need to have anything showing other than the AnKorage and the fact that this is the Linux Mint terminal instance. That's pretty much it. So that's everything. So there you have it. There is customizing Neofetch to include with your bash RC, so that when you fire off terminal, then it'll actually give you something a little more customized, so that you can actually have something that's for you, because it's your computer, it's your copy of the OS. Make it your own, do your own thing. So that was everything regarding that. It's a bit more involved, but if you take the time and have the patience to work with it, then it's not going to be an issue. So that basically concludes playing with Tux this time around. So if you please give the video a like, subscribe, and I would really appreciate that. And don't forget to maybe support the channel a little bit. So information's down below for you. So there we are. But that was a lot of fun to do, and it's been a few weeks, and it was interesting. So I went ahead and I remembered things as I went, and I'm thankful that I did it now versus months down the line, because months from now I am going to completely forget this, and I'll probably remember if I go digging around a little bit, but anyways, but that's that. So thanks for coming, and we will talk to you later. So Skál.